The Chronicles of the 63rd Infantry Division, April 2nd, 1945. Old soldiers never die, they just fade away. MacArthur. But young soldiers often die, and their battered bodies are carted away in trucks. On the morning of April 2nd, 1945, the German 17th SS Panzer Grenadier Division had dug into defensive positions on the high ground between the Jagst River to the north and the Kocher River to the south. The 38th PG Regiment occupied the area from Jagstfeld to Herbolzheim, and the 37th PGR from Herbolzheim to the center of the Harthauser Wald east of Kressbach. Supporting these regiments was the 17th AR Artillery Regiment, in positions about a mile to the south. To the left of the 17th SS PGD and across the Neckar River was the 246th Infantry Division, and on the right flank was the 553rd Volks Grenadier Division. The 553rd VGD front extended eastward through the Harthauser Woods to the area where the Jagst and Kocher came in closest proximity to each other. Beyond the 553rd VGD was the Pioneer Regiment Rosenheim, which extended to the Krautheim area, and the extreme right flank was held by several miscellaneous battle groups from the 9th and 212th. Volks Grenadier Divisions, the American 63rd Infantry Division and the 100th Infantry Division were attacking in an easterly direction, with the 63rd north of Bad Wimpfen and the 100th Division to the south. The 63rd had reached the left bank of the Neckar River on the night of April 2nd, and the 100th arrived on the 4th, with the German 246th Infantry Division falling back to the east side of the Neckar River, where it established defensive lines from the north to the south of Heilbronn. It was anticipated by XXI Corps that Heilbronn, an objective of the 100th Division, would be strongly defended. Therefore, a battle plan was established which would have the 63rd Infantry Division hold the 17th SS PGD and the 553rd VGD in position along their Jagst River defensive line, while the American 10th Armored Division would make a flanking attack through Crailsheim and circle back to the west via Schwabisch Hall to attack Heilbronn from the southeast. In the meantime, the 100th Division was to cross the Neckar River and attack Heilbronn from the west, thus enveloping the city between the two. To hold the German divisions in place, a plan was developed which would have all three regiments of the 63rd Infantry Division attack the Jagst River line simultaneously from the north. The 253rd Regiment was assigned the right flank along the Jagst from Untergriesheim to Machmol. The 254th Regiment was assigned the left flank in the Krautheim-Dorzbach area, and the 255th Regiment assigned the center section between the two. A very short section of the Jagst River line on the right flank of the 253rd from Untergriesheim to the Neckar River was assigned to the 398th Regiment of the 100th Division to afford them a bridgehead to attack to the south toward Heilbronn. The 63rd Infantry Division CP had moved from Viernheim to Heidelberg on the 1st of April and then to Aglasterhausen the following day. April 2nd, 1945 Kressbach was a small farming village located on the high ground midway between the Jagst and Kocher Rivers and about 3 miles east of Untergriesheim. The following excerpts from the account of the war days at Kressbach were written by Herr Spahmann, who was the school teacher in the little village of Kressbach at the time, and are included here to describe the devastation of only one small town, which was caught in the middle of a firefight between the two divisions. Similar stories could be written about almost every village which was contested along the way. The gray storm clouds of war had been gathering for months over our district. The rampant fighter bombers had become more and more of a scourge, making work in the fields and all traffic movement more difficult, and in some cases impossible. Also in recent days, the front had drawn nearer with lightning speed. Full realization came to the inhabitants of the village on the night of 25 to 26 March when the first billeting was imposed. Retreating troops. That was plain to see and sense. The atmosphere was not easy. An army post office detachment set itself up for a few days in the schoolroom. Then they dismantled everything. Also, the remnants of an AA reconnaissance regiment. All the guns had been lost at Kreuznach, moved into quarters. Great excitement broke out on the Tuesday after Palm Sunday with the report that the army had broken through near Royeum. A series of wild rumors followed this. On Good Friday, the remainder of the AA regiment was broken up. The ranks were assigned to the infantry. Only the staff remained behind. On Easter Sunday, they also left. In the meantime, an artillery regiment without guns arrived in the place. Finally, there came a column of construction pioneers, easygoing Rhinelanders they were. On Easter Sunday morning, 70 security troops, clearly stragglers, came from Heilbronn. At midday, part of the Gats van Berlichingen Division marched in. They created a tired and depressed impression because their morale was very low. To my question, if many in the SS felt the same, came the answer, 80%. We were astonished at this. Easter Monday, April 2nd, brought the first artillery bombardment in the neighborhood, above in the high wood. From our kitchen, I observed the earth and smoke mushrooms from the shells. The first shrapnel whistled nearby. Our artillery also fired on Saturday and Sunday. Most of the inhabitants now slept in their own or a neighbor's cellar. At 0515 on April 2nd, the 3rd BN, 253rd Infantry, crossed the Neckar River in assault boats near the towns of Neckarels and Deidschein to establish a bridgehead which encompassed the city of Mosbach. That assault was quickly followed by the 2 ND Battalion, 253rd Regiment, which also crossed the river in assault boats in the Herbolzheim area to expand the bridgehead even further. On the same day, the 1st Battalion, 253rd Regiment, crossed the Neckar River in assault boats further south in the vicinity of Gundelsheim to establish a bridgehead in that area, and the 253rd Medical Detachment followed quickly from Neckarried to Herbolzheim. On the morning of April 2nd, 1945, soldiers from the Luftwaffe had joined the ranks of the 17th SS Panzer Grenadier Division to fill the voids left by the earlier losses of manpower. Most of the men were highly decorated sergeants and corporals, with his heavy mortars dug in on the ridge to the east of Willenbach, Oberscharfer, Sergeant, Sonnleitner of the 13th Company, 38th SS Panzer Grenadier Regiment, Gats van Berlichingen Division, received orders to reconnoiter the wooded area north of Untergriesheim to the river gorge at the west side of the woods. Upon arrival at the gorge, he made a mistake when observing a group of men in a defile, which seemed to be in position for an attack. "Which company are you?" he called down, believing that it was an SS unit. In an instant he realized that they were Americans, and everyone opened fire. The effect of surprise was lost, and the Americans ran in all directions, thus avoiding the submachine gun fire and hand grenades which were tossed in their direction. On the other side of the ravine, a large contingent of soldiers began to fire into the edge of the woods. To the east, Sonnleitner could see other troop movements toward Nudna. Upon his return, he gave the order for his forward observers to move back to the main line of resistance, which was some 200 yards to the rear on the north bank of the Jagst River. One of the observers was hit as he attempted to return to the MLR and did not make it back, and Sonnleitner called for fire on the edge and eastern part of the woods to lessen the pressure from the Americans. Unfortunately for the defending troops, the first lieutenant forward observer for the DO, Nebel, Werfers also called for a salvo, but it landed directly amongst the defending infantry. Sonnleitner recalled about 10 dead and many injured. The The line north of the river held until nightfall. However, sensing an imminent attack by the Americans, Sonnleitner received orders from his battalion commander to move the position of his mortars to the vicinity of Degmarn south of the Kocher River. He selected a site south of the Degmarn Woods and placed his observation posts on the north edge of the same woods. From this position, the heavy mortars could cover the area from Willenbach to Buchhof and Lobenbacherhof.